Chapter 1. During a trip, my wife and I were in a car accident. When I opened my eyes again, we were back in high school, before we even started dating. In my past life, my wife and I loved each other for 10 years, but she always refused intimacy. I later found out her heart had always belonged to someone else, her white moonlight, so this time I chose to let them be together. I deleted her contact information and disappeared from her life. 10 years later, she became a somewhat famous pianist, and she and Ethan Scott were known as the model couple of the piano world. Seeing I was still single, she couldn't help but mock me, unsincere. "I know I'm irreplaceable to you, but you should really move on." I ignored her, simply raising my hand to show my wedding ring. Unexpectedly, her expression changed instantly, and she yelled at me, "But didn't you say you'd love me forever? Why did you marry another woman?" Victoria Ashton and I met again 10 years later at her birthday banquet. I had just come from the gym and went to the banquet hall in casual clothes. Victoria sat center stage at the party, teaching Ethan Scott piano by guiding his hands, basking in the spotlight. "Victoria, if it weren't for your invitation, we wouldn't know you won the gold medal from the Royal Academy of Music. How enviable. Victoria, without your birthday party, we wouldn't get to hear such beautiful music. I'm completely mesmerized. And isn't that right? I heard wealthy patrons gift millions of dollars just to hear Victoria play. That's an amount ordinary people can't even imagine. But did you know? Victoria earns hundreds of thousands for a single piece. More importantly, those rich folks are desperate to have her play for them. Victoria, I'm getting married soon. Could I possibly hire you to play a piece? Price is negotiable." Someone in the crowd asked curiously. "Victoria, you and Ethan have been together for years, right?" Victoria looked affectionately at Ethan. "Yes, 8 years." The surrounding crowd started cheering and teasing. Suddenly, someone asked, "Victoria, do you remember Sincere Clark? He almost got expelled from school trying to win you over." Hearing my name, the smile on Victoria's face stiffened, her eyes dimming. Ethan Scott beside her just smiled carelessly and said gently, "Victoria and I have been together 8 years. Besides, that was 10 years ago. She's long forgotten Sincere." Everyone laughed flatteringly, saying they were a match made in heaven. I remembered. I almost got expelled for fighting someone over her. In my past life, we got together when I was 18. We were each other's salvation. She once gathered her courage and told me, "Sincere, I like you. Let's give it a try." I believed her. Unfortunately, in that life, she ultimately deceived me. Taking a deep breath, I walked into the banquet hall, only to be mistaken for a waiter by a classmate. "Waiter, get me a glass of red wine." But a sharp-eyed classmate recognized me. "Sincere Clark, why are you so late? Why are you dressed like that? Are you actually a waiter here? How much can a waiter earn? Any of the business leaders in our class could find you a better job than this." The surrounding classmates looked at my attire with disgust and contempt, clearly looking down on me. I just smiled slightly, unconcerned. Victoria looked me over, her gaze lingering on me. I spoke politely. "Appreciate, happy birthday." Chapter 2. Seeing I was still single, Victoria couldn't help but mock me. "Sincere, I know I'm irreplaceable to you, but you should really move on." I ignored her, simply raising my hand to show my wedding ring. Unexpectedly, her expression changed instantly, and she yelled at me, "But didn't you say you'd love me forever? Why did you marry another woman?" Realizing her outburst, Victoria quickly composed herself. She gave a cold laugh, her tone laced with barbs. "Sincere, someone like you managed to find a girlfriend? You don't need to wear a fake ring just to fool me into thinking you're doing better than I am." Ethan Scott watched me with ill intent. He protectively shielded Victoria behind him, as if afraid I'd covet her. "Vicky, even if Sincere isn't doing as well as us, you shouldn't say it out loud in front of everyone. It hurts a man's pride. He's embarrassed enough." He glanced at me coolly, a smirk playing on his lips. Sincere, no offense, but when will you stop wearing these cheap clothes? As a man dressing like a beggar. No wonder you need to buy a ring to pretend you have a girlfriend. If you really need it, I can lend you some of my clothes. As soon as he finished speaking, cold snickers rippled through the crowd. After all, Ethan wore a classic dark gray suit, a limited edition watch on his wrist, every gesture signaling his status. Meanwhile, I had just come from the gym, smelling of sweat, looking like I'd just finished an intense workout, utterly disheveled. Dressed in the cheapest white t-shirt I bought 10 online to rotate, I seemed completely out of place compared to him. "No need, you keep them for yourself," I said calmly, then took a large gulp of mineral water. After working out for so long, I needed to rehydrate. Victoria walked over and placed a car key in front of me. "This Bentley is a gift for old time's sake from high school. Stop working as a waiter, find a decent job, eat better, don't skimp on yourself. And Sincere, stop dwelling on the past. Don't keep dreaming impossible dreams. If it weren't for you, we wouldn't have. Never mind, it's not important anyway. What's important is, don't hold a grudge just because I chose him back then. People have to move forward, right?" My eyes paused. I looked at Victoria curiously. Her words piqued my curiosity. I was rather interested to know exactly how I had fallen short in our past life, causing her to discard me so ruthlessly after rebirth. In our past life, we loved each other for 10 years. She wanted to become the world's #1 pianist, while I wanted to open a gym. Both dreams required huge investments. Naturally, one had to give way. Because I loved her, I resolutely gave up the opportunity to start a business with my college roommates and entered the workforce early, supporting both our lives on my single salary. She was rejected by judges, crushed by rivals, and overwhelmed by immense pressure. And I was like an inexhaustible spring, patiently guiding her and giving her hope whenever she was about to give up. I thought she would appreciate my sacrifices. Unexpectedly, when she wanted a new piano again, I couldn't afford it because my salary wasn't enough. She slapped me angrily. "And you should know, if I had gone abroad with Ethan Scott back then, I wouldn't be living this hard life with you, where we can't even afford a piano. And being with you is the worst luck later." She stopped playing the piano, her dream fading with time. But I often couldn't sleep, haunted by her words, "and being with you is the worst luck." Still, I made one last effort, looking at her humbly, whispering, "Victoria, let me hold you, okay?" She pushed me away with disgust, her eyes filled with coldness and impatience. "You can't even afford a piano, and you dare think of holding me? I hate any contact with you. There's no way I'll ever share a bed with you." Those two sentences, like a sharp knife, completely severed my last remaining hope. During a trip, a large truck sped towards us, ending our lives. In that moment, I felt no desire to survive, only a sense of relieved release. Now reborn, we had chosen separate paths. The old feelings were long gone. Chapter 3. I calmly returned the car key to her. "No, thank you. I'm not used to using strangers' things." She frowned, her tone filled with dissatisfaction. "Sincere, are you looking down on me? Why won't you take it?" I replied calmly. "I can buy my own car. So what if I'm a waiter? Earning money with my own hands is nothing to be ashamed of, and I don't think I'm holding a grudge. You should give this car to someone who needs it more." She took the key back, standing there with a complex expression. Ethan walked over to stand beside her, glanced at the key in her hand, likely understanding the situation. A flash of anger crossed his eyes, but he forced a calm demeanor. "Sincere, you won't accept a car from us? Then let's offer some practical help. A buddy of mine runs a repair shop. You could apprentice there. The pay isn't high, maybe $5,000 a month, but it's a skill. If things get tough later, you'll at least have a way to eat. How about it? It's a much more respectable job than your current one." I shook my head gently, my voice firm. "Thank you for the offer, but I like my current job." A guest nearby shouted at me, "Insincere, Just take it your ex-girlfriend is offering a car and a job, don't be ungrateful. And seriously, he's already a waiter. Why act so high and mighty? Didn't he come to the birthday party hoping to get something out of it? Stop pretending to be noble. Ethan pretended to mediate at everyone, don't pressure Sincere. Maybe. He has something better already. He turned his head, advising kindly. Sincere, we're offering help because of our past connection. Don't let pride make you miss such a good opportunity. I truly didn't understand the purpose of this forced charity. Thanks, but I really don't need it. Seeing I wasn't accepting his kindness, Ethan feigned gentleness, but a disdainful smirk touched his lips. Victoria stuffed the key into her pocket and snorted coldly. It's true what they say, you can't carve rotten wood. People like you deserve to be poor your whole life. Just as she finished speaking, a man suddenly put his foot in front of me, holding a wine glass in one hand and a credit card in the other. Sincere, seeing a man like you struggling so much, it breaks my heart my shoe's dirty here. How about you lick it clean for me, and I'll give you 10,000. How's that? Not enough cash? Lick mine too? Another man joined in the taunting, his eyes full of mockery. Laughter erupted from the surrounding guests. Not a single person spoke up for me. My face grew solemn, a wave of disgust washing over me. This birthday banquet was completely different from what I expected. If it weren't for someone specific, I would have turned and left long ago. Chapter 4. Just as I took out my phone preparing to call the police, Victoria beside me splashed a glass of red wine onto the man's white shirt. She frowned slightly, a trace of annoyance flashing in her eyes. Don't cause trouble for me. Seeing it was Victoria, the man's burgeoning anger immediately dissipated. Ethan grasped Victoria's arm. Vicky, are you protecting him? Her eyes hardened. This is my birthday party. You'd better behave yourself. After she spoke, she placed her glass heavily on the table. The man was too intimidated to speak, but shot me a vicious glare, his eyes full of resentment. I instinctively looked at Victoria, surprised by her intervention. Ethan clenched his jaw tightly but forced a smile. Ye heard the nationally famous fashion designer, Isabel Moreau, is holding an exhibition upstairs. Maybe if we're lucky, we'll get to see her in person. At these words, the surrounding classmates instantly buzzed with excitement. Isabel Moreau, a globally renowned fashion designer, had already designed clothes for numerous international stars by the age of 30. Rumor had it she got married quietly this year, and no one had seen her husband yet. Does that mean we might get to meet her husband today? I have to get a picture with them. This is a once-in-a-lifetime chance. Just then, a woman in an elegant blue evening gown walked into the banquet hall. The crowd instantly stirred. So beautiful, that must be the globally renowned designer Isabel Moreau, truly elegant and noble. The man who had insulted me earlier, though chastened by Victoria, was still resentful and directed all his anger towards me. Sincere, if it wasn't for Victoria, an inexperienced waiter like you would probably never meet such top-tier talent in your life. If I were you, I'd kneel and thank her for her immense kindness. After all, when would you ever find a month job on your own? I ignored him, calmly looking towards the entrance of the banquet hall. Everyone flatteringly gathered around Isabel, holding out phones for contact info and videos. Even Ethan shed his usual arrogance, approaching Isabel with a fawning expression. Miss Moreau, I didn't expect you to attend my girlfriend's birthday party. I'm truly honored. As he spoke, his eyes gazed pleadingly at Isabel, as if Victoria wasn't even beside him. Victoria quickly hurried over too. Miss Moreau, I'm a fan. I truly hope to wear one of your designs someday. Everyone present was showering Isabel with compliments. I was pushed to the back of the crowd. But to everyone's surprise, Isabel completely ignored the people around her and walked straight towards me. Her smile was gentle as she approached my side. Unsincere, so this is where you were. No wonder I didn't see you earlier. The previously cool Isabel broke into a radiant smile upon seeing me. You've been at the gym all day. You must not have eaten yet. Looking into her concerned eyes, I responded fondly, "It's fine. Just happened to run into an acquaintance's birthday. Came to offer congratulations." Victoria walked over, puzzled. "Sincere, is Miss Moreau someone you can just chat up? And Miss Moreau, let me warn you, he's ungrateful and wronged his ex-girlfriend. You'd best stay away from him." Isabel acted as if she hadn't heard Victoria, treating her like air, and gently kissed my cheek. "Then I'll stay with you." Everyone witnessing this scene wore expressions of astonishment, frozen in place as if stunned. Just as people were about to speak, a bodyguard approached from the side and stood respectfully beside us. "Miss Moreau, Mr. Clark, so you are here. Do you require protection in the vicinity?" Isabel gently shook her head, then looked at the crowd and said calmly, "Since you are Sincere's friends, you are my friends too. Tonight's expenses are on me, and I wish you a happy birthday." Victoria's face turned pale, like she had swallowed something bitter. "Sincere, what exactly is your relationship with Miss Moreau? Why did she just kiss your cheek?" Her question made me laugh ironically. I took Isabel's hand. The matching rings on our fingers were conspicuous. "Not like this. Do you still not understand our relationship?" At this moment, everyone's expressions turned strange. Some were so shocked they almost jumped, while those who had just mocked me gasped in unison. Chapter 5. Some people couldn't help but come closer, asking me with voices full of disbelieving excitement, "Sincere, are you really the mysterious husband of the designer Isabel Moreau? Oh my God, she's the woman countless men dream of. Then does it even need asking? Didn't you see Isabel kiss his cheek just now? Sincere is her husband who's never been seen in public." "And Sincere, why didn't you say so earlier?" "I really thought you were a waiter here." Faced with everyone's questions and curiosity, I simply smiled and nodded, not saying much. Beside me, Isabel noticed the cut on my hand and said with a pained expression, "Did you get hurt working out? Let's go to the hospital later to get it checked." I waved it off. "It's nothing." Isabel nodded, looked firmly at Victoria, completely ignoring Ethan, who was about to speak. She sized up Victoria and said with a hint of mockery, "Oh, you're my husband's first love? Thank you for leaving him back then. If it weren't for you, I wouldn't have met a husband who loves me so much." Victoria pretended not to hear Isabel's taunts. She just looked at me with a complex expression, weariness showing in her eyes. She questioned me helplessly. "Sincere, is this game to punish me fun? Finding a woman like Isabel Moreau just to trick me into regretting it?" I held Isabel's hand firmly, my voice calm yet strong. My legal wife, Isabel Moreau." Victoria's face instantly turned deathly pale, her eyes filled with confusion and anger. Before, I would have been saddened by her sorrow. But she was right. People need to try moving forward, not live trapped in memories. Now, I have achieved my dreams, and I have a loved one I want to protect, always things I yearned for in my past life. Visibly, in this life, I am happier than she is. The birthday banquet was supposed to be about Victoria, but Isabel's appearance changed everything. The way people looked at me shifted from initial disgust and contempt to current flattery and fawning. This change in attitude took only a few minutes. Sincere's wife is actually Isabel Moreau. It's hilarious thinking back to how Victoria wanted to gift Sincere a car. So ironic she thought Sincere couldn't survive without her. But his wife is someone she can never reach. I just found out Sincere owns several gyms. How could he be short on money? And Ethan wanted to get him a job as a mechanic. Wasn't that pointless? But Sincere, you really surprised us all. We should keep in touch more. Or, well, drift apart. The friends who had treated me coldly just moments ago were now desperately trying to connect with me. It felt incredibly ironic. I responded vaguely, not wanting much interaction with them. Victoria and Ethan's faces were pale. Their own birthday banquet had turned them into clowns. The party wasn't over, but Isabel and I had lost interest. We turned to head towards the design exhibition upstairs. Halfway there. "Wait," Victoria called out to me, her expression completely changed. Sincere, do you really think Isabel loves you? She's just approaching you to toy with a fool. She pointed at the ring on my hand and said, as far as I know, Isabel has a well-known ex, Caleb Vance. Could the Y on your ring stand for something related to Vance? Are you just Caleb's replacement? Chapter 6. Isabel sighed and said to me, this Y isn't for Yuan Sincere's Chinese given name. You always wanted to know why my ring has a Y too, right? And it stands for forever. Our meeting was fate, and I want this fate to last forever. As for my ex, Caleb Vance, he cheated on me. Should I still be hung up on him? Victoria's expression shifted from triumphant certainty to shock, her hands unconsciously tightening their grip on her skirt. I sighed somewhat helplessly. Victoria, what exactly are you trying to ask? Victoria looked at Isabel with a complex gaze. When did you and Isabel start? There was nothing to hide about this. Isabel came to my gym because she wanted to lose weight, and I happened to be her trainer. We often spent time together discussing her weight loss, and the seeds of love began to sprout there. She admired my dedication to my career, and I loved her passion for design. Isabel and I shared many moments that were just ours. Her passion for design fascinated me. We were surprisingly aligned when it came to our dreams. After one training session, Isabel couldn't help asking me, "Oh, why did you want to open a gym?" I smiled, looking into her bright eyes, and said, "Because I believe fitness can bring infinite possibilities to others. It can help people who feel insecure like I did find confidence. I believe my gym can change not just their appearance, but their mindset too." Isabel's confession of love came naturally and sincerely. That day I asked her a few questions. When being with me might mean hardship, are you still willing? Hardship? I could say pretty things like I'm not afraid of hardship, rich or poor. I'm willing to be with you. But honestly, I am afraid of hardship. I became a famous designer precisely not to endure hardship. I nodded and said calmly, "Will you support my dream?" She replied sincerely, "Yes. Someone with a dream who's willing to work for it is already ahead of most people. If you want to do it, I'll support you. But one more question. Do you really want to be with me?" Very much. From then on, I tried to change my mindset, not just out of respect for her, but also out of respect for my former self. Later, we quietly registered our marriage. We had a travel wedding, inviting no friends, and together we explored the beautiful landscapes of our country. After I finished explaining, the usually proud Victoria had tears in her eyes. "And do you have children?" "And you probably don't, right? You wouldn't sleep with her. You used to say your first time could only be with me." Her words baffled me. I replied coldly, "Victoria, the moment you left me, my heart died. And when mutually decided to part ways, we should have forgotten all memories. Strangers is the best we can be. In our past life, you despised me for not affording a piano and refused intimacy even after marriage. We were never meant for the same path. Why force it this life?" Victoria's face turned ashen. She said gravely, "And I despised you because you hired people to smash my piano so you wouldn't have to pay for my piano lessons." Hearing this, I was utterly bewildered. I was completely baffled. "Wait, what are you talking about? Unchant, how could I hire people to smash the piano? Back then I was working as a delivery driver, a mover, a security guard. Every penny I earned went towards your dream. How could I bear to let your dream shatter?" Her breathing hitched. She stood motionless like a marionette. She seemed unable to accept this answer. Tears streamed down her face, her inner collapse consuming her sanity. "Then why didn't you replace the piano for me then?" I found it almost funny. So that was what Victoria's unfinished sentence earlier meant. "At that time, all my money went to your piano lessons. Don't you know how expensive one lesson is?" I had nothing left to buy another piano. Victoria let out a low, painful sob. "That's impossible." Ethan told me himself he saw you leading a group of people to smash the piano, and the reason I was never chosen by the judges was because you were holding me back. If this were our past life, I might have felt a glimmer of joy that the misunderstanding was cleared. But now all I felt was regret for sacrificing my own dream for her in that life. How ridiculous. We were in love for 10 years, yet you completely left me because of someone else's lies? I didn't want to say any more and sighed. We have things to do, so we're leaving now. Victoria anxiously grabbed my wrist. Sincere, don't go, give me one more chance, okay? I pulled her hand away and shook my head. Your love is too heavy. I can't bear it. Seeing me leave without looking back, Victoria burst into tears behind me, repeatedly saying, "Signed, I was wrong. Sincere, I know I was wrong. You promised you'd never leave me." She stumbled and fell to the ground, her face white with pain, but her eyes remained fixed on my departing back, hoping I would turn around like I used to. But I didn't. Ethan walked to her side, trying to help her up. "Esh, let him go, Victoria. I can give you what he can't." She shoved Ethan's hand away. "Enough, Ethan. If it weren't for you, Sincere and I wouldn't be here today. Aren't you afraid I'll expose your dirty secrets?" Chapter 3 months later. News broke that Ethan Scott had manipulated the piano world using fake competitions, forged contestants' scores, and bribed judges. The scandal instantly hit #1 on trending topics. After seeing the news online, it took me a long time to accept the reality. The next time I saw Ethan was on camera, he looked much more haggard. All bank accounts under his name were frozen, and he was arrested by the police on the spot. The real victims were the pianists who held on to their dreams. Years of practice, their only chance at fairness, had been brutally snatched away by Ethan. I utterly despised such behavior, when it's outrageous to harm so many innocent people for personal gain. Isabel smiled and said, "Baby, don't project onto me, my work is all my own." I smiled and tucked a loose strand of her hair behind her ear. Isabel focused on highly creative designs. The clothes she designed were both comfortable and elegant, much like her personality. Because of this, her designs were deeply loved by young women, and her reputation grew bigger and bigger. Only by respecting users' aesthetics and requirements can one be respected by users. Because of Ethan's manipulations, many people lost the chance for fair competition, and some even gave up their dreams of playing the piano. That afternoon, I ran into Victoria at the gym. I was curious why she came looking for me. "Sincere, did you hear about Ethan?" I didn't report him, but a junior schoolmate of mine did. I didn't understand. She came to find me just to tell me this? So, what does that have to do with me? She paused, the words she wanted to say becoming exceedingly difficult. "I'm glad he was caught. Now I can come find you openly. Sincere, you still love me, right? Hold me, please?" "Just once." My voice was firm. "Victoria, am I your affair partner? Son, you abandoned me in our past life, and now you're begging me to be with you. What do you take me for?" Her words made me feel a bit dizzy. I sighed helplessly. "There's no possibility between us anymore. Besides, I have a girl who cares for me and loves me more than you ever did. You don't need to do this, and I won't disappoint my girl." A trace of disappointment flickered in her eyes. She sighed. "So you're willing to disappoint me? I'm going abroad. With Ethan arrested, there's no point staying in the country." Hearing this, my body tensed. I dreaded thinking in that direction. After pondering for a moment, I finally asked the question, "Were your awards obtained fraudulently?" Instantly, Victoria's eyes widened, her emotions collapsing as she screamed, "Well, no, how could they be fake? I earned all my awards through my own hard work." I guessed the answer and said calmly, "Advise you to cooperate with the police early. Try to get lenient treatment." I couldn't be heartless enough to completely ignore her situation. If she wanted, I could accompany her to the police station. Victoria's lips twitched involuntarily. "I can't turn myself in if I'm arrested. What about my dignity and reputation? Sincere, you love me, right? Come abroad with me, okay?" And you loved me so much in our past life, it was me who let you down. It's all my fault. So let me make it up to you this life, okay? Unsincere, I'm begging you, just forgive me one last time, please. Whatever you want, I'll do it with you, okay? I looked at her, feeling helpless. Victoria, being groveling doesn't suit you. We ended long ago. Stop forcing things on each other. I'm doing very well now. My wife loves me very much. That's enough. Victoria shook her head, completely breaking down. How is that possible? If you didn't love me, why would you have come to my birthday party? You were giving me a chance, and now you know you're just holding a grudge. I'm begging you like this now. What more do you want? Talking to her was exhausting. I felt speechless, but my wife's design exhibition was there. Attending your party was just a coincidence. If it caused you any unpleasantness, I apologize. Turn yourself in early. If Ethan implicates you, the outcome will be completely different. Finally, I still want to say, falling in love with you in my past life was truly terrible luck. After I finished speaking, Victoria let out a low, dark laugh, letting tears stream down her face. I didn't want to pay any more attention and turned to leave the gym. Chapter. She screamed forcefully. Do you really think Isabel loves you, the person? She just enjoys the feeling of having a simp follow her around. If you didn't have money, would she still love you? Go clean yourself up with some alcohol, someone like you. Are you even worthy? Only I am willing to lower myself and pity you. Her voice became sharp and hoarse, making me want to flee. She had only ever loved herself. Whatever she wanted, she would get by any means necessary. She was jealous of others doing better than her, while simultaneously despising those doing worse. Her envy was insatiable. Everyone thought I wasn't worthy of being with Isabel, but they didn't know that in our relationship we saved each other. Victoria only saw me as a gym owner, but she didn't know about my achievements in the fitness industry. But Isabel never looked down on my dream. She quietly supported me by my side. Her eyes shone brightly as she looked at me, saying seriously, "Baby, your training plans have helped countless people overcome obesity and gain confidence. You've always been amazing in my eyes. It was because Isabel was by my side that I learned what it felt like to be loved. Love is a two-way street, because no one will keep knocking on a door that never opens. I wouldn't reevaluate our relationship just because of Victoria's words." Victoria was like an unkillable cockroach. That evening she was waiting for me downstairs from my apartment. She stood there dressed in a pure white wedding gown. She confessed her love to me passionately. She called me an idiot fool, said she wanted to tell me so many things, but I wasn't moved at all. It truly fit her calling me an idiot. If I hadn't been an idiot, I would have left her in our past life. I turned to call security. She grabbed my hand frantically, unsincere. I regret it. I really regret it. How can our 10 years of feelings just break like that? You still love me, right? I felt cornered and helpless. Victoria, stop deceiving yourself. The best thing that ever happened was fate giving me a second chance, so I could get completely away from you. The flowers in her hand dropped, making a dull thud. Suddenly, she seemed like a different person, calmly saying to me, "Actually, I knew you wouldn't agree. I just wasn't resigned and sincere. I listened to you. I turned myself in. I did many wrong things, but the person I wronged most was you. This proposal was just to find closure." Hearing her words, I sighed. Even if Isabel and I had never met, I would never love you again. Besides, I can never forgive what happened in our past life. Cooperate fully. Try for leniency. Victoria suddenly gave a small, hoarse laugh. "That's okay." As police sirens wailed, the officers arrested Victoria on the spot. "Due to your connection with this case, we need to take you back to the station for further investigation and statements." As the sirens slowly faded into the distance, my heart filled with mixed emotions. Her outcome today was her own choice. From then on, Victoria completely disappeared from my world. Chapter. The next time I heard news of Victoria was when the police called me. She wants to see you one last time. I took a deep breath, calmly said, "Okay." After hanging up, I immediately headed over. On the way, I recalled the 10 years we loved each other in our past life, though mostly it was me hustling through back alleys, dreaming of our future. But it was too long ago. I had forgotten many things. Time really could wash away much sorrow. When I saw Victoria, her long hair had been cut short. She had lost her former arrogance, looking quite unlike herself. Her eyes had lost their former sparkle, staring blankly out the window. Only when she saw me did her gaze instantly brighten. She bit her lip, quickly tucking stray hairs behind her ear, a hint of self-consciousness flashing in her eyes. "Sincere, does my short hair look terrible?" I didn't speak, noticing her discomfort. She seemed to summon immense courage to say, "Sincere, I want to apologize. In the past, I only cared about myself and ignored your feelings, even wrongly accused you because of someone else's gossip. Now I've received the punishment I deserve. Finally, I still want to ask, if there were another life, would you still want to meet, know, and love me?" She still wasn't resigned, her eyes filled with hope. I didn't even have the patience to listen fully before eagerly interrupting her. I wouldn't. In the next life, I only hope we never remember each other. Victoria, human nature doesn't change. You'll always filter for the person you deem most worthwhile. She loved someone like comparing prices on the same brand, always choosing the one with the highest perceived value. Victoria, forcing herself to appear strong, still broke down in tears. "Are you really so resolute towards me? Have you forgotten all our memories?" I nodded, speaking seriously. "For years. That's why there's no need to repeat the tragedy of that year again and again. But after all these years of knowing each other, I couldn't help but offer a reminder. And true success comes from your own effort, not deceit and manipulation, and no one will wait for you forever. I hope you understand this soon." After this visit, I never went to see her again. My life now is fulfilling and happy. Isabel hasn't been feeling well lately, and today she suddenly fainted at her company. I put down the phone and quickly drove to the hospital. When I arrived, I found Isabel had already finished her checkup. Worried, I hugged her tightly. She pulled a test report from under her pillow and handed it to me, her eyes shining with excitement as she looked at me. "Look, we're going to have a baby. He's growing nicely inside me right now. Aren't you happy?" Tears of joy streamed down my face. Happy, so happy. During her pregnancy, I put work aside and wholeheartedly devoted myself to accompanying her. The little pregnant lady became clingy and adorable. The next time I saw Victoria was after Isabel gave birth. Isabel was craving strawberries, and on my way back from buying them, I saw Victoria being escorted by police to the psychiatric department for treatment. That was the next time I saw her. She was painfully thin, looking like a ghost of her former self, ranting incoherently. The moment she saw me, she instantly quieted down and smiled foolishly at me. I felt a pang of melancholy, an indescribable feeling in my heart. The police told me she had developed schizophrenia, and treatment would be very difficult. I took a lollipop from my pocket and offered it to her. She threw it away, shouting, "It's poisoned. I won't eat it if I get poisoned. I won't be able to see my brother Xie Yuan." She seemed to remember something and started sobbing, muttering, "Sincere, I'm sorry if it wasn't for me." The police officer sighed helplessly. "Her condition is already very severe. The doctor said she only remembers you now, but specifically the version of you from her memories who only loved her." My chest felt heavy as if blocked by something. Her ending was not what I had hoped for. In the end, I left 200,000 for her medical expenses and departed. Carrying the washed strawberries, I entered the VIP hospital room. I told Isabel about encountering Victoria. My wife grasped my hand. "Don't blame yourself. You did nothing wrong. This was her own choice. You've already done more than enough, and we can't interfere with her karma." Sunlight streamed onto her and the baby, bright and warm. All the past confusion and pain dissolved in that moment.